Okay, good afternoon. This is Debbie Davis. It is October 24th, 2025. Okay, several things. Okay, so, I just did a video a few minutes ago about Kristi Noem. Okay, she's here in the cities doing who knows what. I've been trying to expose her and trying to warn people about her for years on my video. Okay, we didn't really know because she seemed to do a good job as a governor under Trump. Well, really the only thing she did is she didn't shut down the state. And so some people were coming to South Dakota for that reason because they didn't have the same COVID mandates, but that's only because of the leadership of President Trump, and she was trying to, be in good favor with President Trump. Okay, she is you can ask any South Dakota person that lives there if she did anything good as a governor other than that. Okay, there were people that wrote into her about so many different things, and she never got back to anybody. Okay, so just talk to the people that live there that had serious situations going on. We have a lot of unsolved crimes. Like I said, there was people getting their property stolen, things like that. That was never addressed by her office. I mean, basically, she's just a good talker, and she comes off well in the camera. Okay, but when it comes to actually doing the work to help the people in South Dakota, she did nothing. Okay, so watch out for her. And then there's more that I wanted to reveal about her that I have myself, information about. There was this. She's part of an organization called the Heritage Group. Okay. Here's a picture of her and Thune and Mike Rounds. Okay, this is called the Heritage Group in South Dakota. Okay, it's a South Dakota Family Heritage Alliance Action. Okay, Ed Rendazzo, Phil Shively, and then John Thune and Kristi Noem. Okay, this is information from Paul Register, who was my friend in South Dakota, who is dead now. Who was a whistleblower friend of mine who is dead now. He said, so him and I were researching and talking quite a bit. Okay, and he said, they banded together, and this is what they go by. This is like some secret organization, and they're involved in child trafficking under this alliance. Okay, and this is what Paul Register was figuring out. There's a corridor, he said, that leaks out from Rapid City to Denver called the Heartland Express. These guys are involved in trafficking children through this Heartland Express. My source isn't sure exactly if they finished it, but it goes through Highway 79 out of Rapid City. Okay, so this will tell you a lot about John Thune and Rounds and Kristi Noem. They're involved in this alliance, and they traffic children through the Heartland Express. Okay, founder of Mike Rounds, Phil Shively, chairman of Fall River GOP, founder of Black Hills Ministries, John Thune, Ed Rendazzo, and Kristi Noem. They're involved in family heritage. Okay, this was not a good organization. They hide under these organizations to do dirty deeds. Okay, just like what we're finding here in Minnesota, the fraud. They have learned these different tactics to call different LLCs or alliance corporations different things, and they do their dirty deeds under these names of these organizations. That's how they're getting away with it. And of course, they always act like they're organizations that are trying to help, but really it's the opposite. So these are tactics. Somebody reminded me, we were talking about, well, of course, I've talked about this before, but all of the fraud that they're finding here in Minnesota, the person that should be, that is their job to catch the fraud is Keith Ellison. But you have to remember, Keith Ellison was put in by Eric Holder, who was the Attorney General under Obama. And Eric Holder is the one that I've talked about before that was directly involved in that weapons scandal, that Arizona Fast and Furious weapons scandal. Eric Holder was at the head of that, where thousands of weapons disappeared. Brian Terry lost his life trying to expose that, and a soldier at my base, Sergeant Carl Markovich, tried to expose weapons disappearing from our base because of this scandal. Okay, so okay, and then there's fraud. I still can't get my travel pay. It's been 4 weeks now. 4 weeks now. I submitted travel pay. It's normally a week. It should be like just a no-brainer. Like, I mean, what is there to, what is there to, why is there such a big delay? It's some game that they're playing. I don't know if other people are having problems with their travel pay, but it's been 4 weeks now. I haven't been paid for my travel pay to the acupuncturist that I've been seeing. So there's some kind of, that's more fraud. So that's more fraud on a federal level now, at the VA. And it's been 4 weeks now. Normally it takes about a week. So I don't know if other people are having issues there, but I still haven't gotten my travel pay that I submitted, my to and fro for my VA appointment. When you're on disability, you're allowed to submit travel pay for the mileage. Okay, and they're just, there shouldn't be any reason why they don't pay it. It's authorized travel. It's such a stronghold here. And then the other thing I found out recently, well, I've heard this before about Anoka. Anoka, Minnesota is literally like when you drive into the town, it says Halloween capital of the state. Okay, so they literally admit that there's a bunch of witches there. Okay, and there's also apparently Belle Plaine, the city of Belle Plaine. They just had an event yesterday, the Witches on Main in Belle Plaine. The Witches on Main. They're not even trying to hide it. They had some kind of big witch event in Belle Plaine, Minnesota, just yesterday. So, clearly we have a serious problem here because there's been 2 DOJ lawsuits against the state. Okay, so I don't know, that should, get somebody's attention that we need federal help here. If that doesn't get people's attention that we need federal help here, I just really don't know what else to say, because it's such a serious problem here with fraud. So we got, the Justice Department sued Minnesota twice now. The Justice Department sues Minnesota over sanctuary city policies on September 29th because they're putting the safety of their own citizens in danger by some of these policies. Okay, because Minneapolis was a sanctuary city, but let's see. And then there was another lawsuit. There's been 2 DOJ's lawsuit. Okay, let's see, what was the other one? Okay, I guess it's mostly, jeopardizing American safety. Okay. I don't know. I guess but it's basically the safety of the citizens is jeopardized because of our leadership here. Major violations. Okay. So anyway, I've talked about this before, that, you know, I'm just trying to bring light to these subjects, exposing. You can't deal with anything and address anything properly until it's brought to people's attention, right? So you have to bring things to the light and expose things before they can be dealt with. So, you know, I do see some things starting to come out, you know, like some UFO things and some things in history, you know, where truths are starting to come out. So, I mean, you have to bring it to the light before you can address it properly, you know, because we've been so lied to, and things have been so suppressed. The truth have been so suppressed. So I'm just trying to do my best in trying to bring the truth out so it can be addressed. You know, it says, like I said, it says in the Bible, everything will be exposed to the light. You know, it says this in the Bible that this will happen. Yeah, like I've said about Kristi Noem, she was groomed by somebody named Tom Daschle, and he was groomed by the Clintons. She does not have any kind of a good reputation in South Dakota at all. She just basically, you know, put on a good face to President Trump, and she's good at speaking, public speaking. But, you know, when it comes down to the actual things she's done for the state, when people have contacted her office trying to get help, she's done nothing. Nothing. It's really terrifying. And I want people to know that this is not somebody that you can trust. Okay? This is truly, you know, she's not trustworthy. Okay? So... what was I going to mention here? So I'm going to try to call this travel pay office again. But, oh yeah, and then Anoka County too. Anoka County too is another one. Oh, like I said, they have the witchcraft capital. There's this lady that I've talked to before that had a horrible experience with the Anoka jail system.
763.
Okay, so like I said, I'm having a hard time getting a hold of people, and they're having a hard time getting a hold of me. And my friend Tommy has issues where I couldn't get a hold of him for days, and this has happened before. And they literally cut off his Wi-Fi internet. It's some kind of company out on the East Coast. He lives in Virginia, named Chantel, Schentel, and they said there's something wrong with his router. And then the guy came out, and they said they're trying to force him to get one of their router boxes instead of just repair whatever's wrong. Okay, we had a situation like that when I was in Golden Valley, where we were having problems with the cable, and then there wasn't anything wrong with the cable for like the longest time, and then all of a sudden there was some kind of problem. So the landlord switched out to Comcast. And we had all kinds of problems with Comcast. And I literally, when I put the Comcast box in my room, I literally had a chlorine gas smell coming out of the Comcast box. And so it was like a chlorine gas smell throughout the whole house. We had to open the windows, and our eyes were burning. I literally had a chlorine gas type smell coming out of the Comcast box. Okay, so I had to literally completely get the cable out of my room, the cable box. This is how crazy the cable company seemed to be involved, and he's got something going on out there as well, where they're trying to force him to put this new box in, and he's like, well, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the old box. Why can't you just repair it? You know, because he doesn't feel safe putting in the new box they're trying to force him to put in. And so he's got something similar going on. And I told him the story about what happened with us in Golden Valley with the Comcast. I mean, it was crazy. Everybody could smell the chlorine gas. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, and it was burning people's eyes. I mean, it's insane. So, okay. So anyway, I guess let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I wanted to also expose how, oh yeah, a couple other things. There was, speaking of Golden Valley, I wanted to show a couple things here that I found in my text. So this is when I lived there. When I lived there, I was having these issues with the landlord, and that's why I ended up moving out. And he was also harassing this guy named Steve, who was another renter there. And Steve, I guess, lost his job or whatever, but he was doing other things to help Hector in lieu of rent. Like, he would have him go help him at some of his other properties with different things, and he was doing the jobs. And so, but all of a sudden he starts going off on him one day. He was several months behind in rent, and he said, he started sending me the text messages, the threatening text messages from Hector, and he said, I'll have to check with the sheriff, but we might go. We can tow your car out if you don't pay your rent. So he's only like a few months behind, and he's got like a $6,000 truck that him and the sheriff were threatening to tow off the property. So all of a sudden Steve starts parking across the street after he gets these threatening text messages, and it was from him and the sheriff. I'm putting this up here. It was Hector working with the sheriff, and they were attempting to in Golden Valley, okay, where they were attempting to tow Steve's $6,000 car, a truck off, just because he was a few months behind, even though he had done work in lieu of rent. But Hector's trying to go back on his word, and so he was sending me these, freaking out. And so I found these the other day that I wanted to share. And I mean, he was working with the sheriff, Hector, and he was scaring people, and so. Anyway, that's what happened there too. And then I was just watching on AHC some of the stuff that is starting to come out with these UFOs. Some stuff that is starting to be revealed, declassified for once, that's been withheld from us. And they were showing this picture of, they're still trying to figure out what this thing is, right? It looks like a rocket or something. It's hard to... Well, you can't really see it. It's like a white dot that looks like a big ray of light behind it. It's hard. But that's what I saw in the sky when I was coming home from LA in February 2025. I was driving towards New Mexico, so I think I was near Edwards Base. I'm not sure, but somebody said Skunkworks or something is near that area. Okay, I'm driving home from the Conscious Life Expo, where I usually go. I've gone for several years, and in February, and I get a few hours out, and then all of a sudden this thing shoots across the sky, in this area of, it was north. I was starting to go north, so and all of a sudden it knocked out my internet for 2 days. For 2 days I had no internet on my phone. So even if I was in some kind of danger on the road, which I ended up being in danger on the road, I had a flat tire in New Mexico. But yeah, whatever this was, it took out all the Wi-Fi signals of my phone. And so you're still trying to figure out what this is what they were saying on this video, is that, there's so many things that we don't know what these things are that our government has been doing in these underground bases, Dulce, and they think maybe this is something from Skunkworks, or, they're not even sure. It looked like a rocket across the sky. It lit up the whole sky. Okay, and then I had no phone service. I couldn't do anything with my phone for 2 days. And then a bunch of stuff was downloaded on my phone on top of it. So I just could not use my phone for 2 days. So I just wanted to touch on a bunch of that stuff today.